All right, we are recording Chapter 10 of The Empire Strikes Back. In that, and yeah. And boy, have I got notes. There's so many issues. Many of them are technical. I will grant that. That many of them are technical, but it still is you gotta get this right. I mean, was it the previous video or the one before that when I was talking about how it's science fantasy, where clearly they're not thinking about how physics works here? It's just, yeah, whatever, throwing it all in because none of it matters, because it's all just fantasy. It's like, I don't like that as the explanation, but whatever. I mean, it does even say here, science fantasy. There. Right there. Anyway, so this goes from the Falcon is trying to escape, get out of the asteroid field. It's like, punch it, and nothing happens. The hyperdrive is still not working. We don't have any explanation for why. There's some speculation, but then they, turn to run at the Avenger. That's the name of this Star Destroyer. Mentioned it a couple times before, but yeah. So that's where it starts. We get some training with Luke, ultimately including the Cave of Evil. There is actually something very interesting noted in there that I don't think is in the movie. It's very interesting. It's very interesting. I'll say that for now. I will get to it though. It's in my notes. We also have then. Well, I'll get to the whole Nita, and there's a timeline issue, a major one with the Falcon. But then the Falcon releasing to float off with the trash, which actually there's another technical issue there that I didn't put into the notes, but and then they start flying off because the fleet is broken up, and Boba Fett is following them. Okay, so that's all the events that are in the in there. So first off, the crew of the Avenger is actually smart. The Avenger is the name of that Star Destroyer, and it's big, so it would be like the Class 2 Star Destroyer. It's big. The Vader's ship is bigger. That's a Super Star Destroyer. But the Avenger is big and powerful. Okay, this is important. Because the Avenger's crew, after the Millennium Falcon flies, you know what? Hang on just a second. I just remembered something. I'm actually going to pause the video for just a moment. I've had this thing sitting behind me here all this time. Completely forget. So anyway, so the Millennium Falcon, charges at the thing, and they're like, are they attacking? What? This doesn't make any sense. And then the whole goes behind, it disappears. They're like, where'd it go? The Avenger crew is actually smart. They're really smart here. Because they're like, it must have jumped into light speed. Because, the whole, could that ship have a cloaking device? No. Well, could a ship that small have a cloaking device? No, it couldn't. So it's like, they must have gone to light speed. They're actually taking in the information, taking in the situation, being like, that's gotta be the answer. Because, they're trying to reason out, this is intelligence, this is smart. And Nita is like, why? Nita's the captain. It's like, why? It's like, why would they turn and do that when they could have just gone, what? This doesn't make any sense. Why would they do this? It's like, this is actually intelligent people talking. It's great to finally see that in the book. Because we really haven't been. Some of these characters have just been so dumb. But there are issues still here. So how could the Falcon go at full speed? Well, I'm assuming full speed, because if you're not going at full speed, this ship is shooting at you. They're gonna hit you. I mean, it's like, they must be going at great speed. So it's going like that, manages to go up, stop, and just go, because, it's like, okay, this way. I don't want to lose the bookmark. So if we assume that this is the bridge of the ship, is able to go like that, and then like that. High speed to stop with a turn in there, and it does describe that he has to power the ship off. Right, so they're mechanically locked on to the ship. So it's mechanically held there, it's not by power. There's something called inertia and momentum. In this case, they're very much related. It's like, there's no way the Falcon is pulling that off. I mean, it's no, you're not doing that. I mean, unless it is, you're pulling up and then you're slowing down the entire time here, and then you go like that. But if that's the case, I just feel like that just makes it more likely you're going to be spotted somehow. I mean, the whole thing is kind of silly. I mean, I get it's a neat maneuver, but it is also one of those, there's nothing previously that has set up that this feat is at all possible. None at all. And that is a problem. That is a problem. Because it's also the whole, why aren't there windows or anything there that it could be seen? Where are the actual dead zones for the sensors of the ship? Because I get that it doesn't pick up something being latched onto the ship. That makes some sense. It also makes some sense that you would have ways to actually protect against that. And yeah, there could be certain technologies that just passively would do that. In one of my books, I talk about artificial gravity, because technically once you start interacting with an artificial gravity field, that means that there has to be more power delivered to the emitters, because it's now applying a force. So you'd have to actually, you'd be able to measure that. So it's like, potentially you could have something like that as well, because it must be artificial gravity. But that's getting too into the weeds, and they potentially never thought out how artificial gravity works in Star Wars. But anyway, it still is this is kind of a problem. How does this work? How is this possible? How is it that the mounting of the ship isn't felt? Because it's not like it just goes... No, it's clunk, chunk. It has to latch on. It uses a claw. It refers it to being a claw. And it's like, there's people... Like, this is a wall it's attaching to. There's people on the inside, right? So how do you not hear that? And it's also the whole thing. It's like, sound travels out. How does nobody notice this? Yeah. Also, there's something else that is a problem, and it's actually the 2 points in my notes where this comes up. So it is mentioned with the Falcon flying at the Avenger that if it impacts almost anywhere, it won't matter. And this makes sense, because what has already been established with the Avenger is it can tank 2 Star Destroyers ramming into it. All right? I complained about that, they were on a collision course, but they didn't notice it until the Falcon dipped out of the way, and they ran into the Avenger, and it just kept going. So it is that heavily armored, that massive, they can tank 2 Star Destroyers running into it. Now, were they glancing blows? Probably, but it still is, it kept going, it didn't care. At the start of the chapter, it also references a massive asteroid slamming into it. It doesn't say that the Avenger destroyed it, but by shooting first. No, that it strikes the hull and is destroyed in an explosion, and the Avenger just keeps going. Okay? It is a very, very powerful and impressive ship, right? But they have windows on the bridge. Windows that if the Falcon runs into, will destroy it. Will be able to break through and kill everyone. It's literally like the most important part of the ship for its continuous operation, especially in battle. And it's also the most vulnerable. This is a spaceship. Okay, it's not like a Navy ship where you have a tower and it makes sense because you're going to be doing a lot visually. Okay? It's going to be more like a submarine in that you're going to be using radar, or in that case sonar, you use both with the submarine. Not underwater. Radar underwater doesn't work, but you'd be using where you're looking at screens. So your command center can be very central and heavily protected. A surface ship is different because you are looking around. That's not what a spaceship is. You're not looking around to figure out where you're going to target. You're looking at sensors. Why is the bridge not armored? It's so dumb. Moving on. Okay, so I'm going to have to bounce on my notes a little bit because it bounced around a little bit. So Nita is like, okay, I have to go to Vader, tell him we lost the Falcon, and apologize. This is in the movie. It's fine. Next you see, he's dead. Vader does in fact kill him. I think in the movie it's possible he didn't kill him completely, just like choked him out so that he's unconscious or very weak. But in this note, Vader did kill him. But one thing interesting is the way it describes this is that it's like, yeah, failure is not tolerated in the Imperial Navy, and it just stops there. It's like, so the Imperial Navy just kills everyone who fails? Who wants this job? I mean, it's not failure is not tolerated by Vader, it's by the Imperial Navy. That's horrific and dumb. Because there's also the whole going back to A New Hope. How did Biggs leave? Biggs left the Imperial Navy. How? If they won't tolerate a captain who is apparently skilled enough to be on essentially the most powerful normal Star Destroyer, not the Super Star Destroyer, but most powerful Star Destroyer, they're willing to just kill him for one screw up. Right? I mean, it's not Vader, it's the Navy that does it. There's no way Biggs is getting out, okay? None. It also starts to beg the question, when you are that cutthroat, why didn't they just take the full of that fleet and just start eradicating the asteroids? I mean, that's entirely reasonable. Especially if you can have the Avenger just run through these asteroids and destroy them that way. You have got to have a lot of firepower there, okay? I'm saying that you've got to be able to do this. Even if you're not completely destroying the asteroids, you're going to do enough damage that if the Falcon is there, you're destroying that too. I mean, there's so many other ways this should have gone based on what this is kind of telling me, because they're supposed to be ruthless, and they're clearly not. So it should have been rewritten that it's Vader does not tolerate failure. But I will also say, I like in the movie better, even if it is that Nita is killed in the movie, where Vader goes, apology accepted, Captain Nita. And then he just, walks away and starts talking with the other people. That was so much better than what's in the book. I don't even remember what they wrote in the book, but it's like, it's just that sort of mocking tone that it is so much better. And it is what should be in the book. And I'm not saying that it's a better line. I'm not saying just for that. That is far more consistent with the Vader character. Vader being up here, okay? That's where he is. That the Vader up here makes it kind of like, it's the Vader down here, though, that we've been getting with the whole calling the rebels scum, okay? So just yeah. Okay. I'm going to try to leave the Luke stuff for later and continue with the Falcon stuff. I'm just looking over this. So one thing that's also weird with the whole like that was Han shut down all power on the Falcon, so it wouldn't be detected. This makes sense. Although he does then pull up a computer to start figuring out where they're going to go before they even detach. It's like, isn't that dumb? Plus, technically, they should be getting cold because life support would be off. There'd be enough air that you'd be fine for a good amount of time. But heat, you would start losing heat. So there should have been some mention of that. But what's really weird, and the thing that's in my notes, is it's like, yeah, even 3PO got turned off. It's like, how? I mean, it's one thing for Han, captain of the Falcon, to go and everything powers off. That's one thing. And the Falcon. It's another for him to go, boom. Where's your off switch? Damn it. Where is it? Because 3PO's like see behind him or over there. It's still like, this is a problem. Like, it doesn't make sense that he could have done it quickly. Because it was even, there's a comment in there, I think it was Leia saying it, that you could have at least told him you were going to do it. It's like, how? How did he do it? Because it's never even been implied that 3PO has an off switch. But Han just knows where it is and is able to reach it that quickly. It is nonsense. It really is. Then we got the issue of the time skip. But before getting to that, I want to talk about the landing claw thing. And there is a time skip that applies to all this with the Falcon. That I've already been complaining about that. The timeline with the events for the Falcon crew is not. It is completely incoherent. It doesn't mesh up with anything else. Okay. And that to be clear, that is what I mean by incoherent here. That it isn't meshing. Not that it's nonsensical, but that it is lacking coherence. Okay, just to be clear on that. So it has a landing claw, and that's what it's used to grab onto the Avenger, right? How? I'm just... How does this claw work? Because it's already established that the armor of the Avenger can tank asteroids and ships ramming into it. So how is the claw going to get a tight enough grip? Because also the Avenger's still moving. Like if it's just going like this, then all the Avenger has to do is slow down and the ship crashes, or speed up and it slips off. So it has to like be really gripping it and like crushing it down a little bit. But if that's the case, either the claws are going to be damaged, which is a problem, or it's going to damage the ship. Not necessarily much, putting in dents, but it still is. You've established that the Avenger is very strong. How's the claw working? And it's described as a claw. It's not described as a magnet, which is also would have to be an electromagnet, but they turned off the power, which means that it wouldn't be holding. I mean, there are problems. It also, not sure if I can find it quickly enough. It might actually only be a page or two. Okay. So Chewie checked the manual release on the landing claws. Leia watched as Chewbacca proceeded to disengage the landing claws so that the ship could take off without mechanical delay. No, he didn't. This is not a true statement. Because then it's later. It's going to be a bit, because there's then the discussion of where do we go, which could have waited, especially since he had to turn on the fuse. But anyway, I see it, Chewie. I see it. Prepare for manual release. He already disengaged the claw, though. So it's like, what is being released here? This is inconsistent. This is worse than just that kind of incoherence I mentioned. It is inconsistent, because you're saying Chewie did one thing and then there's another. Because if you're disengaging the claw, it's no longer holding on, which would mean then that, well, if it's not holding on, that means that the moment the Avenger leaves, it's just hanging there. If the Avenger speeds up, it's hanging there. And someone might be like, hey, wait a minute. Stop. Look. Oh, yeah, there's also the technical issue that it describes the garbage being dropped underneath the ship, whereas the Falcon is up at the bridge. So Falcon's up here, the garbage is down here. Again, somebody could very easily notice that and reveal it. So, like in the movie, they actually show that the garbage like comes out just below the bridge. So that at least it can be all lost in there. So that's not bad. In the movie, like the movie does that a bit better. Which I guess helps because it is visual, but it still is. Why are you describing it as coming out underneath the ship when that's not where the Falcon is? Anyhow, another thing that it would have been nice if they had in here, because it is a problem in the movie as well. Why does Boba Fett follow them? I get the whole, yes, he's trying to find the Falcon. That's fine. That's not the question. Why is he following them here? Because he's doing the same maneuver as they are, where he's in amongst the trash. Why did he do this? Why did he think to do this? Why did no one else think to do this? I was like, he had the thought, I'm going to check the trash. Okay, fine. He's as clever as Han. Great. But he could as easily have just said, hey, keep a ship nearby. Right? I'm capturing them. It's my reward. But keep the ship nearby. He does this, and the moment they appear, start shooting at them, so they stay there, and then have the Star Destroyers come in, and boom, they're captured. They never get to Bespin. But it's also, why would he even think to do this? Why would he be like, it must be that they don't have a cloaking device, they didn't go to light speed, which, I mean, hey, it was probably set up that's the question. Why would they have done it then instead of earlier? That's fine. So he's intelligent, but it's still like, why would he think to go through this specifically? And not even just be like, you know what? Let's do a visual check of your ship. Let's see what we find. Or he could just start doing that before, hey, Avenger, before you fly off, let me do a visual check. Oh, look what I found. There are so many ways that Boba Fett should have handled the situation if he actually had any sense of it, which is not set up that he does, because it's just like, suddenly he's there. But why? There's no explanation for why he's there. None. And not even just he's very intelligent and figured out. Because if he did figure out, he would have been able to stop them before they went to Bespin. Okay? I mean, it's like, it's one of those things. It is irrational. Okay, it is. These are not. This is not the rational reaction from Boba Fett, the rational plan from Boba Fett for how to handle what he suspects. So if he is suspecting and not just got really, really lucky, but it's like no one is that lucky because no one would think that you had to make intentional choices to do what he did. I mean, it just. It's one of those things that the book could have done better than the movie. Because the book could have even had it be like, if Han mentioned, I once heard about this. Because technically Han should have no knowledge that there are any bounty hunters helping the Imperials right now. None, right? And it might even be reasonable that the bounty hunters wouldn't come near that fleet, right? Because potentially they are also wanted for crimes. That's not unreasonable. Because these are supposed to actually be scum. It's like not good people, so they may have crimes on them that they wouldn't go near the fleet unless they were invited in. So Han would be like, yeah, there's no way any of them would be there. Don't need to worry about that. And I slightly forgot where I was going with this. Oh yeah, if Han was like, I heard about this, mentions to Leia, when Leia's like, how could you possibly have thought to do this? It's like, I heard about it once. Somebody tried to do this and actually managed to escape somebody after them for a bounty. Not naming Boba Fett. Or even, it wasn't Boba Fett, but just a different bounty hunter. Okay? Just suggesting that. So now, Boba Fett, the greatest bounty hunter in the galaxy, he is described as that in here. Okay? He'd be aware of the story. Maybe it was also his story. So it's like, he will check the trash then. That would have done it. And you could do that in the book. Because it would add some to the movie that doesn't necessarily need to be added. It's like, this is awkward. It doesn't really fit. But you can do it in the book. No problem. Nope, didn't do it. It just seems another one of those, like a lot of the Battle of Hoth, where here are the points that we want for the movie. Put them in words and don't touch anything. It's like, but there's these plot holes, these inconsistencies. It doesn't make sense. It's like, no, don't fix it. Have it be the movie. The movie isn't made yet. I mean, how do you make it like the movie? It's even though, yeah, I mean, a lot of this would have been written prior to the movie. Pre-production, yes, but not production. I can believe a lot of it would have been done before production because also there would have been editing and such. But there are some things like the whole, "I love you, I know" that we get at the end of Empire Strikes Back between Han and Leia. That's not in here because that was during production in the movie. So I mean, it's very frustrating. That was all that I. Oh wait, no. I forgot about the time. I forgot about the timeline. Okay, so. Wow. Done. Right. Okay. So Nita's like, shit. I gotta go talk to Vader now. Gets on his shuttle, leaves the Avenger, goes over to Vader's ship, which there's no reason to believe is nearby. Like, it is outside the asteroid belt. We know that the Avenger just left the asteroid field, not necessarily a belt. They could be on opposite sides. They could be next to each other. I doubt that the Falcon, because there's no mention when the Falcon is leaving, there's zero mention of them approaching another ship. Okay? So it's reasonable that they are away. So he's taking a shuttle that is going around the asteroids to not be destroyed, gets on Vader's ship, travels within Vader's ship to his office, and I think it does actually say that it was his office. So that's his meditation room. This is somewhat early. I want to see if I can find this. Should be before that, I think. Okay, no. It is after that. This is. It's also interesting. It does say that Vader in disgust had signaled for the captain's death, meaning it might not have been Vader who killed him, but somebody else. Whatever. This is. Actually, no. Maybe it's not. Oh no. Okay, lifeless form from the floor of Darth Vader's Imperial Star Destroyer. So we actually don't know the room. It could have been immediately where the shuttle arrived. Nita's shuttle arrived. Okay, fine. It's still off of the Avenger with a shuttle over to this other Star Destroyer, docking there, getting off, and boom, he dies right away. And then Vader has to issue a command. Yet, despite that, the first conversation we have between Han and Leia on the Falcon is after these orders are given, right? It's after all that. The first one, and it's like, you could have told 3PO you were going to turn him off. It's like, this should have been said, like, shortly after they attached themselves to the Avenger, and, like, things had calmed down. So it's like, so this is what we're doing here? I was like, that's when the conversation would have been. But it's potentially hours later, because getting that shuttle out, preparing the shuttle, getting him on it, moving it to the other Star Destroyer, docking there, and then the death and the orders being sent, that can take, that's reasonably hours. Because as I said, there's no reference to there being any other Star Destroyer near the Falcon when it exits the asteroid field. So this really is a major problem that the timeline doesn't make sense. It is incoherent. And this was the case was it just a previous chapter or was it 2 chapters? With the Falcon, where it's like events seem to be taking just hours there while there's other references, like with Luke's training, that's days. Like that should be days long. And it's very frustrating. Anyway, let's get back to, let's get to Luke's training. Which is interesting. It is, by the way, one thing, it does talk a fair amount about how he is doing a lot of leaping, which is kind of nice because it does help explain when he goes to Bespin, the whole him jumping up into the thing above the carbonite freezing thing. And it's like, because it's like, you watch the movie, he's able to do this. I'm saying jump up like, 2 stories, 20, 30 feet into the air. And it's like, yeah, it's actually very much explicitly part of his training. It's like, hey, at least we're getting it in the book. Yoda seems to use a mind trick on Luke to help him relax, which Kenobi did the same thing in A New Hope. And it is just interesting that we see both of them do that, trying to train him. And I wonder if that's something that's like, no, that's just what you do to help train Jedi? That you do that to another Jedi? Because there is the whole, it's like, dude, I know you're trying to train me and help me and all that, but stop messing with my mind. And say, if anything, could you start training me how to keep you from doing that? Well, but how are you supposed to get better? Let me worry about that. Let me worry about how to get better. Stop getting in my mind. Yeah. It's just, I'm not, I don't like that they keep doing that, because it is technically a violation that they are doing of his mind. And they're not suggesting it, they're just doing it. Plus, it also indicates that they are that powerful compared to him. That there's a gap in power, yes, but he's supposed to be closing this gap, right? That's part of the idea here. And he doesn't even know. What prevents Vader from doing this to him? No, seriously, what would prevent Vader? Vader is also a very powerful Force user. Luke is not being protected against this stuff at all because they're doing it to him. Why can't Vader make him relax or something? Or make him really tense so that then he is less capable in a fight and then kill him? They're setting something up that should be exploited in many ways, and it is being exploited, which is kind of a contrivance. Or they could just be setting up that, no, I'm going to do this to you because it will help you. I guess a way to put it would be like establishing some kind of ritual, like doing. I'm trying to think. I think that there is an example somewhere of like just like massaging somebody's head to help calm them down, giving them tea, something like that to calm them down. But the person is aware of it at least, and I'm just. It is a contrivance that I feel you can address, and they're not addressing it, and that bothers me. That bothers me. All right. Okay. So I do need to do these in order. Okay. So this is Luke has been taken to, Yoda's led him to outside the Cave of Evil, What's in there? Only what you take with you, Yoda said cryptically. Luke looked warily at Yoda and then the tree, blah, blah. He silently resolved to take his courage, his willingness to learn, and step within that darkness to face whatever it was that awaited him. He would take nothing more than... Dash. No, he would also bring his lightsaber. I just like how it wrote that there. It's like, nah, I'm also taking that. Lighting his weapon, he stepped through the shallow waters of the pond and toward the dark opening between those giant and foreboding roots. But Yoda then says, your weapon, you won't need it. Luke paused and is like, no, I'm keeping it with me. I mean, if nothing else, it is a light. So yeah, I just found it funny how they wrote that. Just the whole, it's like, no, I'm taking that with me. I mean, it's kind of like in the movie UHF, the opening there where it mocks, it's a satire on Raiders of the Lost Ark, and he's doing the whole, with the bag of sand, trying to weigh it out to match the idol, and then he's just like, screw that, grab it, and it's almost like that to me. It's like, Luke is like, yes, I'll be great. I don't need this. I'll just bring these things and the weapon. I'll take this too. Also in the court gesture, it's like, pick your weapon. It's like, I'll take one of those, two of those. You know what? Here, just give me all that. It's same kind of joke. And I do find that amusing. But one thing that's new that, okay. So he's in the Cave of Evil. Out of the darkness, a light appeared, the blue flame of a just ignited laser sword. In its illumination, Luke saw the looming figure of Darth Vader raise his lighted weapon to attack and then lunge. Did you notice it? This actually is... I like this. This is actually very good writing. Because at this point, remember, A New Hope is out. Vader's lightsaber is red. This is known to the author as well, but he describes him as having a blue lightsaber. Who has a blue lightsaber? Luke does. Okay, so it is the lightsaber he brought with him that has this blue light, so you might be thinking that, but there's also another thing. Whose lightsaber was it originally? His father's, because we know Vader is his father. So by him bringing his father's lightsaber with him, you only bring with the only thing in there is what you bring with you. He's brought his father with him. His father is Vader. And so Vader now has that lightsaber because he is Luke's father. Luke doesn't know it yet, of course, but it does actually kind of neatly tie this all up, that it is meant to be that it is foreshadowing that Vader is Luke's father. And there's one other thing. Okay. As Luke watched in shocked disbelief, the broken helmet fell aside to reveal not the unknown imagined face of Darth Vader, but Luke's own face looking up at him. This actually connects back to it being not just an image, a cautionary tale of Luke, you could become evil just like Vader, but also that, no, that Vader is your father. Because Luke doesn't know what his father looks like. He doesn't know what Vader looks like either. But he has no knowledge of that. So, if you're trying to imagine your father, especially if you are his son, what are you going to think about? Your own face. Because you're most likely to look like him. So it actually I think in the movie, because I'm pretty sure that Vader does have a red lightsaber the Vader form does have a red lightsaber in the movie. So it seems much more the cautionary tale thing that, hey, you could become evil yourself. But I think with the book, because it says it was a blue lightsaber, that we can actually take it more as foreshadowing that no, Vader is your father. It's both. Both work. Let me be clear. Both work for the explanation of what's going on here. But I think it is actually foreshadowing the later on Vader telling him that. Now, whether or not there will be any statement in there, like Luke figuring this out, there doesn't need to be. That can be left for the reader to figure out, or not. They don't need to notice. We don't always need to notice these things. But yeah, I mean, it's that is actually good writing. So as much as I do heavily criticize this story for having a lot of bad writing or poor writing, that legitimately is good writing. I do like that, especially because it is small enough. Some people may just read through there and not notice it, especially if you're not familiar with the movies. Which I don't think anyone reading this would not have been familiar with the movies. Also, don't think many people reading this would have continued reading it to this point unless they were familiar with the movies. But yeah. So anyway, that should, I think, cover. I mean, I'm pretty sure I've gone through all of this. But yeah. So we've got 4 more chapters left. That'll be interesting. Especially to see how more I can shred the. Oh, one other thing. I forgot. Leia asked, and I did. Do I? Yes. Sorry. Going back to the Falcon stuff. Leia asks the question, "Where are we?" Like this is when the computer comes up and they're trying to figure out where to go. And it's like Lando system. I've heard of that. Leia's like, "Where are we? You're at Hoth. You're nowhere else. You've been stuck at sublight this entire time. You're not leaving a system under sublight. Like even in the Star Wars universe so far in these books, it's kind of established you're not leaving a system at sublight speeds. The system is too big. So it's like Hoth should be very nearby because it's just hours away. So where are you? You're at Hoth. You're not near this other system that does name. And Bespin also has to be nearby. And to help put this in context, the solar system is about a light year across. Okay? Sublight speeds typically, I think you should interpret sublight in this case where you don't have the light speed drive working at all. Star Trek can cheat a little bit. Where you can have sublight actually come very near light speed, because you can still use the warp drive to get to approach that, but impulse in that is half the speed of light. In Star Trek, I think you can also go with sublight speed would top out at about half the speed of light in Star Wars, because that's about that's where you start switching into things being relativistic, like where the relativity starts taking over from what we call classical mechanics. So it's like you're at best going half the speed of light, at best. You're not leaving us any solar system in hours, even or days, at half the speed of light, okay? That would take, at the fastest, and going straight out for the solar system, and Earth is kind of near the sun in the grand scheme of things, that is taking you about 2 years. Where are we? Leia, you are stupid. We're in Hoth. It's right over there. Do you not see the planet? It's right there. That is just one of those things that it bothers me because I know the science well enough, and I do try to respect that in my books, even if they're not science fiction. I try to respect that in the books. That's like, no, this is how this works. You can't just do another way. Like, it's also, if I go through the Star Trek movies at some point, one thing that's really annoying, if you'll start paying attention to those and realize they do a lot of things at impulse. Like, oh yeah, we're heading home, like in Star Trek 6, we're heading home under impulse power. It's like, and it refers to being in different quadrants. It's like, okay, so you'll be there in a few millennia. I mean, it's like, what are you talking about? You would be cruising at warp. Now, I grant, the ships do look better just, nicely passing through a star field than, the whole warp thing. I'm saying, I get that. But still, there's a major problem in a lot of science fiction of, oh yeah, sublight is enough to get places. So it's not enough to get anywhere. I mean, it's also another thing with Star Trek. They try to have that, oh yes, you don't use warp within within a solar system. It's like, yeah, you do. How do you expect to leave? As I said, light year across. See you next time.